Today on the show, we have Lexi Moriarty, CRE, CCIM. Oh, wow. You guys are really going to enjoy this interview. She's got breadth and depth of experience that goes beyond imagination. So let's get to it. Hi, Lexi. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Jamie. How are you?
Good, good. It's such an honor to have you.
It's my
Um,
pleasure.
Today's main topic is going to be what is asset management? If you could give us an elevator speech on that, what would it be?
I can totally do that. So asset management is the strategic side of running a property. When you're an asset manager, you're like the captain of a giant ship,
Mm,
and you need to figure out what's going to happen in the future and plan for that.
okay,
It
I
goes
like
hand in hand with property management. Um, Asset management is the strategic side
that. Hmm.
of running a property, and property management is the tactical side.
Mm,
And if you have strategy without the tactical,
right.
nothing's going to get done. If you have the tactical without strategy, you're not going to know what to do. So asset management is the strategic part of running a property.
So asset management is kind of like the commander or the general in a military operation, and then the boots on the ground is property management.
That's exactly it.
In your opinion, what makes a great asset manager? What are the needed skills and mindsets to succeed in this role?
So the biggest thing about asset management is you never want to be surprised.
Mm,
So the worst thing in a real estate investment is surprise. Something bad is going to happen.
mm,
You don't want that. So you need to have things like research skills. You need interpersonal skills to be able to talk to leasing people, property managers, lawyers. You have to have the skills to be a team builder,
mm.
because the best teams are not, you know, they don't happen by themselves. They really do coalesce around uh, a like a great team that you would see in a sports team, where everybody has their job, but they all communicate. They all communicate well, and they know what the common goal is. I guess the mindset is, again, I'm going back to the captain of the ship. The mindset is that, your client is the owner, the investor. And so your client is, has goals like somebody on a ship, right?
Mm.
Has a goal to get somewhere. Your investor has a goal for what kind of return they want from their investment. And your job as the asset manager is to help them get there, and
Mm.
maybe help them get farther.
Oh, I like
Increasing
that.
value is really important. It's one of my um, favorite things to do. I like to uh, ascertain the goal, see what we can do in terms of getting there, and then exceed it.
Awesome. When you take on a new client, what can they expect? What is your process?
Axia Real Estate Advisors provides asset management services, COO services, and management consulting. So for the most part, what we do is look at a client's portfolio or their management structure, and to see what we can do to add value or create efficiencies. And generally what I do is create a 30, 60, 90 plan,
Mm.
where here's what we're going to look at in 30 days. That's generally looking at the portfolio, doing our own research on the markets, or doing our own research on management consulting. Then in 60 days, we've got the strategy laid out. And then within 90 days, we have the implementation plan in place.
Oh,
And,
wow.
and then we go from there. So depending on what the investor's time frame is, we kind of work backwards from that that time frame to try to get them to the return that they're looking for.
What does Axia mean? Can you tell me more about Axia real
Yes,
estate
Axia.
advisors?
Yes, my part of my heritage is Greek,
Mm,
and Axia is a Greek word that means value or worth.
mm,
And that is what we provide. We provide greater worth um, for a portfolio. And I'm just really tickled to have Axia as my company name.
I also saw on your website that you increase value through active asset management.
Yes, and it's funny because some people think that they can buy an investment and then sit back and let it run itself. And that is
Mm,
a major mistake. Um, because all properties, I don't care what they are, but all real estate, commercial real estate investments require active asset management. And that is looking at what the timeline is, what the return horizon looks like, and keeping track of market forces and market
mm.
research to make sure that you're still, that asset that your client has is still either, you know, somewhere in the top of the market. One of the things that I've noticed and over my career, and I've worked for a lot of funds, is that the fund life of a property is usually anywhere between 5 and 10 years.
Mm.
And you need to do whatever you're going to do with the asset to get the return that the client needs within that time frame. And sometimes people lose sight of that time frame. It's sad, but it's true that um, some people have lost a lot of money by losing sight of their fund timeframe. And they
Mm.
come to the end of the fund life and they're not where they need to be with the asset, and the asset then sells for something a lot less. And there's a prime example here in the market of a hotel in Los Angeles that happened to.
Oh,
The
wow.
fund the fund that owned it realized that they needed to liquidate all the properties, and they had already put in a sizable investment
Mhm.
into the hotel and had to sell it at a steep discount and ended up losing a lot of money.
Oh,
That's a
wow.
surprise that no investor wants to have.
Right.
So that's one of the things that we keep track of. This is
Mm.
something that I would definitely tell to my younger self, is make sure when you're interviewing for any position to interview with the people, not only who are going to be your supervisors and above, but also interview the people who are you're going to work with
Oh,
and the
wow.
support staff. So I did not do that, and it turned out to be a really bad situation.
Mm.
So I knew I made a mistake. I was there for a week and said, this is not for me. And I called the lender to say, I made a mistake. I was honest about what happened.
Mhm.
And I said, is this offer still available? And they said yes.
Oh, wow.
And that was 30 something years ago. And my friends from that company
Mhm.
still don't let me live that down.
But you know what I love about that story is the fact that you were able to pivot and that you had the oomph to ask if the job was still available, you know? Most people, they would feel kind of uncomfortable doing that, but I love the fact that you did that. When I was reviewing all the different things that you've done and where you've come from, the breadth and depth of your experience is truly amazing. Could you tell us about your journey?
Started out in lending and then went to workouts when those loans went south,
Mm,
as cycles always do. So I did some workouts. And then I wanted to start a family and ended up being an appraiser for many years. And that
Oh,
was
wow.
also excellent experience because appraisal work gives you valuation experience. You get a breadth of assets to evaluate. You need to really know what's happening in the market
Mhm.
for effective valuations. And it's just incredible experience. My favorite asset that I ever appraised was a NASCAR racetrack
Oh my
in
gosh.
Loudon, New Hampshire.
That's amazing.
It was really, really fun. Um, and then I actually got a degree in database management because I
Oh,
wanted to
wow.
incorporate technology with my real estate experience. And so after getting that degree, I worked for a company that was selling loans on the secondary market. So again, I'm building in the loan experience and the technology experience. And I was able to create one of the first electronic war rooms ever. You know, that was back when the technology was not there to
Mhm.
really do this. And I was just, it was wonderful. I was given free rein to do kind of whatever I wanted to within that goal. And I created an electronic war room and an auction platform.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
yeah, all within Microsoft Access, if you would believe it, you know. Um, and so we sold loans on the secondary market in an auction format,
Mhm.
and that was very exciting. Um,
Wow. You're like way ahead of the times.
it was really fun, I have to tell you. Um, and then after that, I took that knowledge of technology and worked for a division of McGraw-Hill companies
Mhm.
called Dodge. And Dodge is an old, uh, well, it's back then it was 100-year-old company that put together the data on projects, assets in various stages of construction with general contractors. And so the whole idea about the data there was to marry the owners with the general contractors in a bidding process.
Oh,
And
wow.
it was really very fun. So you had data, this gargantuan data set of properties in mostly commercial properties in various stages of construction. And McGraw-Hill, well, the Dodge folks, after the GC won the bid award, they would throw that data away, which is,
Oh.
you don't do that. You don't throw data away.
Right.
Data is valuable. Data is a differentiator in commercial real estate. So we ended up taking that data set and repackaging it for the financial community and sold this data set to Wall Street. And it became the supply of real estate that could then be married with the demand side for
Oh,
real
wow.
estate so that people could see where the opportunities were,
Mhm.
where demand was greater than supply.
That's amazing.
Yep, it's really fun. Let's see. And then after that, I started my asset management journey with
Mm.
a pension fund advisor called AEW Capital. And I was so fortunate to arrive there at a time when um, they were looking for asset managers, and I had all the disparate pieces, you know,
Mhm.
the valuations from appraisal, the market research, and the lending experience. And this all gave me the opportunity to go into asset management
Mm.
because that's what you do as an asset manager. You use all of those parts. And so I had interviewed with each different property type. AEW at the time was segregated by property type. And at the time, I had had the least amount of experience in retail, and I am all about lifelong learning
Mhm.
and improving my skill set. So I wanted to work in retail. And I'm so happy I did, because retail is the most fun property type out there.
Mm.
Um, and then I've been doing asset management ever since 2007. So for the pension fund advisor for a while, and then for a REIT, and then for a developer
Mm.
that had sovereign wealth fund money, and then for a startup fund. And that's where I really felt like I understood what I could bring to a company.
And speaking of clients, who is your typical client? Like, what do they look like? What's the client profile usually?
So my target client is really a developer, or a startup fund, or rather a new fund that needs some help, not just in asset management, but in putting together systems, processes,
Mm.
standards, and technology that will help with reporting and investor relations and asset management.
Well, it seems like you're collaborating with people from all disciplines related to commercial real estate. You need to have great communication skills. You need to be organized, and you need to keep the vision in front of you so that you don't lose sight of where you're trying to go. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. Although you do need to be nimble.
Mm.
Some things happen in commercial real estate that you just can't, you cannot anticipate. For example, if a retailer in an anchor store needs to leave,
Hmm.
then what do?
Right.
That could be your main strategy. And then you have to pivot and figure out what opportunities that presents to you.
So, Lexi, what would you want more people to know about asset managers or asset management in general?
That's an excellent question, Jamie. Thank you for asking that. What I really want people to know about asset management is that it is the strategic part of owning an asset.
Mm.
So you are making a business plan for this asset and for the income that's coming in and the outflows, the money going out. What I really want people to know about asset management is that it's not property management.
Mm.
So property management is the day-to-day tactical running of the asset, and asset management is the strategic financial plan making. And the asset manager actually normally hires the property manager, the legal team, the leasing team. So again, the asset manager is the captain of the ship,
Hmm.
and that's what I want people to know about
Great.
asset management.
So tell me more about the counselors of real estate and the CCIM designation, what they mean to you.
Thank you. So the CCIM designation is so interesting because I have been in commercial real estate for a very long time. And I took the classes. It took me about a year to take all 4 courses, put my portfolio together, and finish up. I can't tell you how much I learned during
Mm.
those core courses, even though I had the experience in each of the disciplines for those core courses. I really learned a lot. The CRE, the counselors of real estate, I never expected to be invited to join them. The counselors of real estate is a small group, global group, uh,
Mm.
of people that are real estate troubleshooters.
Mm.
They're made up of appraisers, lawyers, finance people, pension fund advisors. And really, they have a distinction about them, a distinction of excellence.
Mm,
That is the whole brand of counselors of real estate. You know, when you talk to a counselor, that you're talking to somebody who is experienced, knowledgeable, pretty much humble from what I've seen,
mhm.
and data driven. So I'm just so thrilled to be part of this very prestigious group.
Yeah, and it seems very exclusive. How many CREs are there? Is it like 980 or something like that?
Right now, there's less than 1,000, and we're trying to get more CREs to the organization.
That's amazing. And then the CRE group tends to write white papers or research papers. Is that correct?
They do a lot of research papers. They're very research driven,
Mm,
which is why I really feel like they're my village. My love and first arm of defense, if you will,
mhm.
or sword of defense in looking at a real estate asset or portfolio is to look at the data and look at the markets. And the counselors of real estate are very data centric and data driven. They take their expertise and marry it with the data to create a real solution. So one of the other things the counselors does is have a core of counselors that will work on a property or a project that is really, really important. One of the most recent ones that they worked on was the Paradise, California city that
Oh, that got
unfortunately
burned
burned
down.
during the fire.
Hmm.
The counselors got together a group of people, counselors, to advise and help the city of Paradise rebuild.
Mm,
It's really just very heartwarming to see all that expertise lent to something so important.
that's amazing. Are private asset holders, investors, developers able to reach out to CRE for help?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's CRE.org.
Hmm.
You can look for a counselor. Most of the counselors who are listed there have their resumes or some type of CV there so that you can see what their expertise is. And I
see.
highly recommend it. Again, most of them are just really nice people to work with
Mhm.
as well, and extremely knowledgeable and, like I said, data centric. I had the opportunity last year when I was traveling in Europe. I was in a city that I didn't really know any business people, and I thought that I would call a counselor there to find out what's going on in the market.
Mm.
I turned out to have reached the CEO of a company in Athens that started one of the first REITs in Athens, in
Oh,
Greece.
wow.
And he was so generous with his time. He told me what was going on in the market. He
Mm.
told me what's keeping him up at night. And to the extent that I can help him, I'm committed to doing so in the future.
Now, we touched on it a couple times, the importance of market research. For me, it just sounds like it's foundational to your work.
It is, absolutely. I was able to cut my teeth on this market research at Dodge. One of the things that we did there was report on the market forces affecting real estate in 54 metropolitan areas around the
Mm.
country. And I had the opportunity to edit the reports, write some of them, and then go out into the public, into the financial world and talk as a panelist or as a speaker at conferences or before small groups of people in those markets to really let them know what the data said were the opportunities for them in that market. And we reported on multifamily, retail, hotel, office, industrial, and seniors housing.
Oh, wow. I also noticed on your website that you mention the importance of leading from the heart.
That is, I'm passionate about helping people get more from their real estate
Mm,
and not make mistakes. And I love beating and exceeding their expected return.
I
My
love that.
returns at most of the clients that I've worked for, the returns have been better than the NACRE returns
Mhm.
or NAREIT.
Yeah, so I think now I want to talk about property repositioning. I think you've told me a story about some of the work with Albertsons locations that went dark, that through redevelopment, through just different strategies, you were able to almost double the value of the asset.
Absolutely. And it's a fun thing to do. I have to tell you, when you have a blank canvas, if you will, of an asset, and you have to see what you can do with that.
Mm,
We had great fun redeveloping properties, empty anchor boxes, junior anchors, to either split them up, redevelop them
mhm,
as one retailer or several, figure out what we can do with the rest of the land that would generate income.
mhm.
And that's how we did that. And it was very fun. I had one property that nobody could sell. It really was, didn't have the value that anybody would expect
Mm,
from this. And I ended up doing something very unusual, and that is giving the property to the municipality, and the investor got a tax, what is it, a tax credit
Oh, wow.
for that asset. And it was the best outcome for everybody. The city
Mm,
got an asset that they could do whatever they wanted to with, and the investor got a tax credit instead of some liability for that property.
wow, that's really out of the box. That's very creative. Cradle to the
But
grave. Can you tell me about that?
of course, yeah, there's a couple of things that are involved in that. Because I've had the good fortune to work in many parts of a commercial real estate investment, from lending to appraisal to asset management, looking at property management, looking at acquisitions and dispositions, really could see the asset life cycle from an investor's viewpoint. And I love to teach. I did a presentation to a CRE chapter, my own CRE chapter, CRE LA, about the life cycle of an asset from the investor's viewpoint, and basically took it from the acquisition, what do you need to be able to evaluate an acquisition, over to what you need to do to reposition the property,
Mm-hmm.
and then what you need to do to dispose of that property. And at each time of that, each part of that timeline, I was able to show what the returns were, what the expenses, the capital expenses, and what the returns were for that. The people who watched the presentation
Mm-hmm.
later told me that they really didn't know or understand why their clients who were investors made the decisions that they did. And I was
Oh.
able to show them, at this point in the life cycle, this is where you can make some return or add to the value of the asset.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where if something happens, you don't add, you decrease from that value. So it was really a lot of fun, I think, for me to show people that. So
And I also know with the financial modeling, what you do is show and highlight what the potential weaknesses, opportunities, and threats to the acquisition are so
yes,
that your clients can make informed decisions. How does technology fit into that?
in very many places, we don't need to rely on Excel sheets anymore.
Mm,
We have technologies to be able to uh, do things like sensitivity analysis. And in Excel, that's very difficult.
mhm,
So we have um, technologies like Argus is one of the industry standards for valuation and for evaluating an asset. Most brokers use Argus Enterprise to show the prospective investors what the returns will be on the property and all about the property um, dynamics and
mm,
details. And one of the things that I was able to do for one of my clients was bring a technology solution to them to roll up all of their leasing and into one big portfolio dashboard. And
mm,
that way the CEO and the leadership of the company could really see what needed to be addressed.
mm,
We took for that particular client, they started out with a 30% vacancy in their portfolio. And after 18 months and bringing a technology solution to them, we were able to bring vacancy down to 5%. And honestly, you guys, everybody should know this, that if your vacancy is less than 5%, you're not charging enough rent.
mm.
So you always want to have some vacancy to leave yourself an opportunity.
That's amazing. And I think I remembered reading that that dashboard actually helped them be more agile in the market and make leasing decisions quicker.
Definitely did. It brought leasing to them so much faster. The technology brings leasing teams from around the country
Hmm.
into one platform, and it just speeds up everything. So aside from being a great reporting tool,
Hmm.
it was a great tool to create value by leasing faster.
That's amazing because sometimes, people are getting emails with tons of attachments, and to have them go through it, there is a wait. So when you can speed that up and you can seize the opportunity to make that deal happen, I think that is so critical.
It is. It was great. The other thing I brought to this client was some policies and procedures for uh, putting broker teams together and then maintaining that communication with the broker team in very regular timeframes. So there were no surprises. Everybody knew what was expected and what the goal was. And they just acted on it. It was great.
Yeah, and I think tied to that technology solution that we had just talked about, you were able to leverage your national network of collaborators.
I have my portfolio of properties that I have worked on has always been national.
Hmm.
And as a result, I have a really large network of collaborators around the country, lawyers, architects, GCs, leasing people, you name it, I can pretty much find a person that I have either worked with or can ask for a recommendation. Other secret weapon is Crew Network.
Mm,
And Crew Network gives a network of people around the country, actually around the world at this point. And you can rely on a crew member to call you back and help you out.
mm. Yeah, I love Crew too. They've got a lot of great events that are not only educational but have a great pulse on the market. And you just meet such high level people that normally you would not cross paths with on your own.
It's true. And honestly, it is my secret weapon, because if I am working on an asset in a market that I don't really know about, I will call a crew member and ask to have coffee or a meeting or
Mhm.
something, so that I can get some inside information about what's going on in the market. And I don't need to rely on the people that have an incentive to tell me what uh, the way the market is. I can
Right.
get an unbiased viewpoint.
One of the things that I read that you learned from being part of crew is that you learn to take a risk and ask directly for what you want. What do you mean by that?
So true. So I had the great good fortune to ask to be on the National Research Committee for Crew Network.
Mm,
We did the very first study of the pay gap between men and women in commercial real estate. From there, I wanted to bring this new technology called webinars to
before Zoom, I'm
before
assuming.
Zoom.
That's amazing.
Oh, it's so fun. And so I asked the CEO of Crew Network if I could develop a series of webinars
Hmm.
based on eminent professors around the country to talk about what their specialty was.
Hmm.
And the answer I got was, sure, go ahead, do it. So I did. And we had the most fun. I had Doug Abbey from Stanford. I had, I was gonna, can't remember his name, Peter Linneman. I had Peter Linneman from Penn do a presentation, and they were so well received, and really, I'm so grateful to them for their time and expertise. So I think this year, 2024, is going to be a busy one, helping clients figure out how they get to not only keep the value in their investments, but grow it. I would say that the best time to be an appraiser, an asset manager, or somebody who can add value to an investment is in times of market flux.
Mm,
So to my friends who are asset managers, this is going to be a busy year. Buckle up.
mm,
It'll be fun. Same thing for anybody invested in valuations or looking for opportunities. There are going to be a lot of
mm.
opportunities. And don't be bashful about asking and going for some of those great opportunities. Just do it. My mentor, Paul Donahue, who's a wonderful, wonderful person, known him for many, many years. Years ago, he said, Lexi, you have 15 opportunities to network during every single week. You can have early breakfast in the morning, you could have a lunch, you can have a coffee or a tea or a drink after work. And if you just talk to 3 people a week,
Mm.
your network will expand exponentially. And that's the best way to find out what's going on. I love to ask people what they're working on. Be intellectually curious. And you'd be amazed at what people will tell you they need.
Hmm.
And then you have the opportunity to be a connector.
You know, speaking of which, I really find you to be a natural born leader and a connector, because when you invited me to the crew farm to table dinner, you connected me to so many people. And it started off with a very simple question like, what are you working on these days? And then it was just so easy for you to connect me that it made sense that I should know that person. And I just thought I was so inspired by that.
It's really a fun question because honestly, if you can help someone,
Mhm.
that's the best reward there is.
And I love the introductions that you made for me. Even I think Jeff Albee was sitting right across from me. He was your other guest. You know, he asked me what I was working on, and he said, "You should talk to so and so. They're in Northern California. They're experts in the field that you want to dive into." And I was blown away. This is somebody I wanted to start touching on land development, and this is somebody that ran the land over at CB Richard Ellis, then at Cushman Wakefield, and now he has his own equity capital company, and he's just so knowledgeable. And there's just no way we would have met naturally on our own, you know. So I appreciate that.
My pleasure. It's just so great to be able to connect someone. And honestly, what else are you going to do with that knowledge? You
Right.
know that somebody needs something, and you know that somebody else has that and needs
Mhm.
to do it. So that's really what we're here on earth for, is to
Yeah.
help each other.
Is there anything unusual about you that would help people remember you?
Hmm. I think that's a loaded question. I don't think anybody would remember that I am a sewist and I love sewing,
Mm,
but I think maybe that one of the things that I just love about my career, and it's been kind of a long one, is that I have done many different things within commercial real estate
mhm,
except sell it. And so I am studying for a broker license, but in the interim, it's so wonderful to have all these CCIM brokers
mhm,
who I know and can trust because I know what they've gone through
right.
to help me.
Well, I think what you mentioned about sewing, I mean, that's something that I admired about you when I first really got to know you at a crew Gatsby party in Culver City. And I think it's actually a metaphor for what you're doing. You're bringing disparate, disconnected pieces together, making sense of the commercial real estate world for people and making something new.
That's exactly it. What a great analogy. I didn't think of that, Jamie. That's great. True, though.
Yeah, it just dawned on me. I was like, you're sewing together different solutions for people for these different funds, and you're just creating new value, new worth, and a new garment for them.
It's exactly right. And the creative act is really so much fun. And it's really important, I think, to think outside of the box, but also to know what the box is.
Right. Yeah.
So you can
Well,
think outside of it.
I love the fact that, you know, part of your client intake process is 30 days. You look at the asset, you look at the existing as is condition of their real estate portfolio. Then you come up with a plan in the next 30 days. And then in the last 30 days, you implement. And I think you're really, it's almost like acting like a doctor. So, should we be calling you Dr. Lexi?
Dr. Moriarty,
Yeah.
like Sherlock Holmes. I do have an evil streak.
Commercial real estate Dr. Lexi Moriarty. Here you go. So, how can people get a hold of you?
They can contact me via email or phone. I think we're going to put up a contact sheet here. My
Yes,
number is 310-889-8486. Or you can email me at lexiarea.com.
great, great. You know what's so cool? The acronym for your company name is AREA.
I love that. Isn't it great?
Yeah, I was looking at it and I was like, oh, did she plan this?
I did plan that.
Brilliant, Lexi, just brilliant. Any parting thoughts?
A lot of people don't think that they need asset managers, and a lot of people don't need asset managers. If you have one small asset or two, you don't need an asset manager to run the strategic part of that asset. You need a financial planner or someone who, or yourself.
Mhm.
That's the best thing, is if you yourself can run the return and run the numbers so that you know what to expect in 10 years or 15 years. But people who have bigger portfolios where there's more to go wrong
Mhm.
and there are more pitfalls out there do need a strategy. They need a plan. You
Mm.
need to have a goal and you need to know how you're going to get there.
Right.
That's what asset management is.
I love that. It's kind of like you're the GPS of commercial real estate.
That's right. We are the guiding people in commercial real estate.
Well, it was such
Thank
an
you.
honor and a pleasure to have you on the show. I just feel like you dropped a lot of knowledge on us, a lot of wisdom, a lot of experience, and I think people are going to get a lot out of this interview. So thank you.
Thank you so much. The honor is mine. I appreciate it. Thanks, Jamie.
Well, that's it for today's episode, a deep dive into asset management. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in the next episode.